I want to get onto some of the priorities, but before I do, I just want to touch on something that there's a lot of people who worry about the way Malaysian politics is shaping up, that perhaps people are already looking to the future, and that, the situation is being dominated somewhat by a proxy race, that there's a lot of focus, for example, on the future of the son of the former Prime Minister, Dr. Mahathir, and the son-in-law of Dr. Badawi, the current Premier. Does that complicate your position in any way, that this sort of sideline race is running for looking even further ahead?
I think it goes to show that UMNO is an open and very democratic party. I mean, we cannot arrange for things to happen. The second or even the third generation, they're coming to the fore, and they want to participate in the electoral or the democratic process in the party. So I think I would welcome that.
Well, Dr. Seri, what are your priorities? I mean, at the helm, what would you really want to focus on, first and foremost?
Well, it's not quite appropriate for me to answer at this juncture because, I've not taken over and Prime Minister Badawi is still in the seat, and I would want to respect that. But basically, we have to cater for our base, first of all. And that's we're talking about the Malays and the Bumiputras in this country. They are our main supporters for UMNO itself. Right. But UMNO and Barisan Nasional must also address the non-Malays. And I believe in this concept of a multiracial government. I believe that we must cater for the interests of the Malays as well as the needs and aspiration of the non-Malays. If there are genuine grievances, legitimate grievances of the non-Malays, then we must cater for them. So it's a question of balancing between the two.
Now, on the show, of course, we concentrate a lot on viewer questions. We had a huge number of emails for you, by the way. Many of them touched on common areas, and I'm going to try and get a few of them in here. And one of them is actually from Malaysia. Many came from Malaysia. Ronnie here in Malaysia wrote in saying, why maintain the Malay supremacy policy which only benefits some? Now, I know you've addressed that somewhat. Why ban the Hindraf? They didn't do anything wrong. And why maintain the Internal Security Act, which was meant for terrorists but is being used against citizens?
Well, I've said openly that I believe in a policy of gradual liberalization of some of the elements of the new economic policy. As the Bumiputras become more secure, more confident, and more developed, then there will be less need for us to have the elements of the new economic policy or the affirmative actions in this country. But it has to be a gradual process. At the same time, we must be fair to the non-Malays, and I think the government has taken steps. For example, in terms of education, for example, if you secure 9 A's at the SPM level, which is equivalent to O level, and irrespective of whether you are Malay, Chinese, or Indian, or Kadazan, or Iban, then automatically the government will give you a scholarship to enroll into a public university in the country. So that is an example of a new initiative that the government has initiated. And in my fiscal incentive package, which I announced in Parliament early November, we gave 50 million each. 50 million to Chinese schools, 50 million to Tamil schools, 50 million to mission schools, and 50 million to the Islamic schools that are part of the Ministry of Education.
Let me touch briefly on a part of that question, though, sir, about the ISA, the Internal Security Act. Why, Ronnie was saying it's meant for terrorists, but he feels that it's being used against citizens.
No, I realize that. I think there is a very strong raison d'etre, for the existence of the Internal Security Act. Look what happened in Mumbai. And you realize that you cannot take security for granted. And the only reason, or rather the main reason, why there have been no serious acts of terrorism in this country is because we have in place the Internal Security Act. But at the same time, I realize that what is important now is to realize that people are more concerned about civil liberties. Right. Therefore, what is important is that how you apply the Internal Security Act. And I realize there's some controversies relating to how the ISA has been used lately, and therefore we intend to address them in the future.